Everybody.
Hello.
Amanda's here too. Hi everyone. Our guest is on his way. David Summey is his name. He is the head of our props department, but I'll have him introduce himself when he gets in here. He just had to take care of something, but he's on it. Come on in. Ba-da-ba-da. Special guest has just arrived. Dave, have a seat. Come on in. Take a squat. We are live. Everybody, this is David Summey. Why don't you introduce yourself? Tell them what you do here at Les Mis. Say hi to everybody out there.
I am the head of props, and so I just give these guys all the props they need.
You do a lot more than that. Well, you do a lot more than that. Tonight we're going to talk all things props in the show because they are so important as another element that really brings us into the world of Les Mis. Why don't you talk about what your day-to-day is like? Because you not only have to run the show every night, but then there's also prop upkeep and all the things like that.
Should we talk about what props are for the...
Oh yeah, why don't you talk about what props are?
The big difference between, it's a gray area, but the big difference between props and carpentry pieces, and it always just depends on who you're working with and how the show is developed and how things go, is if it's bigger than a table, it's kind of a carpentry piece, or maybe if actors don't handle it as much, it becomes more of a carpentry piece. But it always depends on like what the piece is doing, where it's going, who's handling it. I mean, I've had large pieces that were mine and small pieces that were carpentry, so it's always differences. It's a lot of times you talk with your team and find out who's going to live with what. But mostly handheld items.
So for you, is the barricade a prop piece or a set piece?
It is both. Carpentry handles large pieces of it, and then I handle pieces that attach to it.
So they handle the stairs, and you handle all the pieces that get attached to it to make it look like the barricade.
Yes. Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
There we go.
And so it ends up being, you could say, oh, maybe all those are carpentry pieces, but it doesn't really work that way. It's lovely if you could always point and click and say that's it, but it really doesn't work that way. There's not enough hands if you work it that way.
Right, correct. And how many, so you are, come on in. Hello, Michael.
Hello.
We're live tonight. We're doing another ThNOT, talking about all things props tonight.
Ooh.
So how many people are on your team? And you handle one side of stage, correct?
I handle stage left, and I have an assistant on stage right who runs all of stage right. We're equals. And I have 2 locals on my side and 2 locals on stage right side.
Great.
So we have 4 locals that we work with and our 2, so 6 total if you look at it.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And then people keep asking, so we're going to get to it. What is your favorite prop in the show?
I always like to say the one that's not broken. That's the one.
It's
that
true.
is my
because
favorite
this is
prop.
a very heavy show.
Yeah,
and a lot of broken props.
So many things, and there's more than like 6 props. So then there's hundreds, and then it's real easy for something just to easily get dropped, get broken, and it's not because somebody mishandles it. Accidents happen. Also, just age and movement breaks things. I think my favorite scene with props is Master of the House. And it's because what I call the kitchen table, which is the Thénardier's table, has so many items on it that get moved and manipulated and put in different spots. So you have to be kind of precise where things start, and then they get moved around. It's a lot of fun to watch that one.
It looks like a giant. When you look at it, you can see that there is a roadmap. There is method in the madness of it, because we're also not only dealing with obviously cups and plates and bags, but you're also dealing with an actual piece of bread.
Yeah, and then you're dealing with an actor, and so I like to find out if they're right-handed, if they're left-handed. Is there a movement they like to do? Can I face a jug that has a handle a certain way, so then when they move around that side, it's easy for them to grab that handle. That's the little
brilliant.
Things.
I had no idea.
It's the little things like that can
this
make.
This is why he's a master at what he does.
It's and you get to work with the person. And so when we have our understudies come on, sometimes I change a small amount because I know that it helps them. And also, if they come on and they want to move a piece here and there for themselves because it helps them because of the way that they reach, or maybe their height and their arm length, like it's little things like that help out.
That's really cool. So, so speaking of an understudy, so let's go back to the Thenardier table.
Mm-hmm.
Because Madame Thenardier is kind of the one that really handles that. Monsieur
much.
Thenardier comes over. There's a moment with that. That he's over behind that table as well.
Mm-hmm.
Do they ever have a chance to look at that table before it goes on stage?
No, they don't. They actually don't. I mean, they got a chance way before they're seen to come take a look
if they want to.
But
they trust.
They're kind of
him.
Yeah. They really do, and then it just goes out. So they're hoping I didn't forget the bread that night. So
Well, it's a whole different scene.
Yeah, it's a whole different
scene. What do you think is the weirdest prop in the show? Or most unique?
I would, that's always a good question. I think maybe there's, again, the Thenardier table has a meat grinder on it, and it's got a little bitty tiny air compressor in it. And at one scene, they put the bird in it, and they grind the bird, and they hit a button, and then the feathers shoot out. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a fun prop. Because nobody's expecting feathers to shoot
exactly.
And it's very simple. It's a little bitty compressed air.
So speaking of the bread, how does that happen every night? Someone just asked, like, do you guys bake it, or how do you get the bread?
I order it. Instacart is fantastic. It has made my life so much easier.
Have you ever bought out bread at a store?
Yes, I've had to. Yes, I sure have. I've bought out bread a couple times. So.
There you go. That's fantastic. So not only do you deal with all the practical props, I guess as we could call them, cups and saucers and bags, but you also have to deal with fire.
Yes.
Because we use torches on stage. And then you also have to deal with the gunshots.
Yes.
Yeah. So what is that like, dealing with, because we have three rifles that do like a live fire in the show, as we call it. But they're not firing actual bullets. So what are they firing in that moment?
They're really just, it's almost like those little snappers that you throw down and they snap. Better word for it would be a blank round, but that's not quite exact. But it's a quarter load, some people call it. But there's no wadding, there's no anything like that. So every night what I do is I check the barrel, make sure it's all clean. I check the lack of a better word for it, the rifle round that goes in it. And I put it in there. I make sure that it is just what it is. You put it in, and then I put it together. I put it in a lockbox, and we have three.
All of those guns. Let me say that all of those guns are locked up at all times backstage until they are used.
Yeah.
And he is the only one that handles them.
Yeah,
or the assistant to props is the only one that handles those guns.
It's correct.
Sorry, go ahead. With what you were saying.
Absolutely right. We lock them up.
Safety is like 100% one of the things that is what I love that we do backstage is the safety of everybody, the professionals that are on stage, but also the safety of the audience is taken into key 100%.
Trust is trust is the only way that you work in a, well, just like we said with the table. If you guys don't trust me, to do the job I need to do, then how are you going to know when you're on stage and you can't check something and it comes out that it's going to be exact?
Right.
And I trust you guys to do the movements that you've been choreographed to do, entering and exiting in certain ways, so we're all safe. Not just you, but me too. So I'm not jumping in front of something to get out of people's way.
Do you ever have to show anybody that the guns are empty, like a stage manager, or do you ever have to show those to anybody at the beginning of every city?
Yes. So there's a fire marshal that comes in. There's also, depending on the jurisdiction, there'll also be some police officers that come in, maybe the chief or somebody, and they will come in. We'll demonstrate what we do. We'll show them that we have the amount of replicas that we have, firing replicas, and then they will inspect them. We'll show them the torches as well. The torches run off butane. They're basically like a stick lighter, but they look like a torch.
Someone asked, have they gone out on stage? And yeah, it happens. It happens.
It really happens. Sometimes it's just a mistake. There's a button on it, and it's so easy to just accidentally pull your thumb off the button, and it goes out just like if you clicked a lighter and let it go. Sometimes
That's
you're
exactly
moving
what it
around,
is. Yeah.
and it's just a flame, and it goes out.
Javert has to be careful on stage because he uses the torch at one point to light things, and if he goes too quickly, the torch will blow
It
out.
just goes out.
And then you can't just. I mean, there is a way that you can hit the button on the torch that it would relight,
Yeah.
but you have to hold two buttons at the same time, and so we can't have that on stage.
And
Because then
it
you'd be like,
just-
how did that happen?
And it just will magically come back on.
Exactly.
It's better just to go, oh,
It's out.
It's out. You
Yeah.
know, you just move on. And usually people don't really notice in the audience. But if you were to relight it, people are like,
Whoa,
something just
got
happened.
Magic. Somebody asked about the bottles that we use on stage. There are bottles that are thrown around. Are those
Yeah.
real glass?
They are not real glass. So we have a company, there's many of them that exist that we go through, and they have unbreakable bottles is what they call them. They're a certain type of resin. They can come either clear, they can come in different colors, they can come in different sizes and shapes. So we order ours through a company that does that for us. You can absolutely make one. You can have a mold that you can create off of a regular bottle.
Yeah.
You can pour epoxy in it. You can pour plastic in it. You can pour silicone in it. There's a lot of different methods and a lot on YouTube. I learn tremendous amounts through YouTube University is what I call it. Like
I love it.
It's but we buy ours because the people who do it do a great job. It doesn't also take my time to create because it takes 15 minutes.
15 minutes.
It takes a lot of time to make those things. So it's better to have somebody who does that for real life and not somebody like myself guessing, I wonder if it'll work.
Right.
So,
Right. So how much of props are we ordering outside to get things in? Or how much are you actually having to create as we travel across the country?
I order as much as I can from someone else, from a professional that does it for a living. And this is what they do. Because I maintain a prop, I don't make a prop, is what I say. Now, I know how to
Do a lot of it.
do a lot of it, because it breaks. And so you need to have the correct way and then the jack of all trades way.
The functional knowledge.
Yes. Like
to use it.
some of this stuff, when you look up close, you think, like, that's not pretty when it comes to how I've braced chairs or stools. But you can't see it from the audience, and the way they get beat up every night, they need to be stronger at the joints. So I buy as best of a product that I can buy, and then I try to reinforce it. Mm-hmm. Also, my designer, Chris Peters, she's a wealth of knowledge, and I ask her questions. She has an entire dictionary of people for props, and so she sends me whatever I need. So,
someone asked, "Where are you from? Where did you grow up?" Because they love your accent.
What? I came from North Carolina.
North Carolina.
I grew up all my life in North Carolina, I guess you say, until I was an adult, and then moved away for a career.
And how did you get your start?
Accident. Total accident. I wanted to be an actor, and I studied to be an actor. And then I had an acting teacher. She was a Russian, and she was very good, and she said, Shakespeare doesn't like Southern accents. So I said,
okay.
And then she put me, and she was so right. And Tanya was her name. And she said, you should try backstage. And I didn't know what to do backstage. But the moment I got backstage and picked up a saw or a drill, and I never really built things in my life, and I was in my mid-20s, that was it for me. I never wanted to go back on stage. I knew I always wanted to be in something like this. And then when I didn't know there was something else other than acting. And so someone with more knowledge, a teacher who could see that there was something else there, led me to the right direction. And then just through hard work, luck, people, I fell into more and more and more.
If a character has a letter that goes in a jacket, do you put it in the pocket, or does the dresser do that?
Great question. It's a little bit of both. It depends on the situation. If it's starting the show preset before a show starts, we'll put those letters in. If the jacket needs to go on stage, we play it in a certain way and then come off. Sometimes we prep the letters near the area, and a dresser will put it in for us, or check to make sure it's in. It's a collaboration sometimes. There's just not enough hands.
Yeah, but what's cool is I actually have this right here, which I have to return to you. So this is the death letter, the letter that I give Fantine, and all of our letters. What I love is that all of our letters are actually written out. And so, like, they actually have, if we have to, like, I have to sing off a letter, it actually has everything written out. And if anybody forgets it, whole like going to a cold sweat. It's
Right.
happened a couple times
Right.
where you're just like, you have to make sure you know everything memorized. But it actually has words written on there. You can read this if you wanted to. I'm not going to right now. But that's what I love, that any practical props. So like for me, there's a couple moments where I have to pull a letter out of my pocket to give to Fontaine, or someone has to give me a letter. I am responsible when it comes to that moment to actually go and get the letter myself. It's the actor's responsibility to go and get the letter to make sure that they have the props that they need. Someone asked, are the props always set up the same? Like, how long does it take you to package up everything, to put it all away, and then how long does it take you to open it all up?
It takes me about 40 minutes to put everything from start to finish that's out, and an hour if I don't have enough space and you're running around lots of obstacles. To get it from out of the truck, if I was to just have my stuff, I could at the minimum put it out in an hour and a half. It would be very uncomfortable. So I'd say I need about 2 hours to really put it into spaces, to make sure that everything's out, all the stuff. But
5 minutes.
that's also because carpentry's working at the same time. So you can't put all my
All
stuff
hands
out.
on deck.
If I put it all out,
Yeah.
it's in their way, and so you're moving around with them.
Correct.
So,
Correct.
yeah.
All right, we have time for one more question, so
Okay.
I'm going to ask this question, and I know that there are a lot more questions, so we'll try to get them answered in the comments. If you could give advice to anybody that wants to go into this, what would you tell them? What is the one piece of advice you would give them?
I would say that one, every bit of knowledge that you grow up with helps you along the way. Listen to people that have done it before, in the ways that they may be doing it. Like, go to a community theater and learn. There's a million things at a community theater that you can learn. They will teach you in so many ways. Take a chance. Get on something that doesn't sound like it pays a lot. You'll be amazed by how much stuff you can learn from something like that, because so much stuff in my brain has come from not the things that were expensive, but the things that were like inexpensive.
Yeah.
And I use that knowledge to fix things all the time. And I would say I love YouTube University. Just keep learning.
Keep learning.
Just keep learning. That's
all of
the
those.
thing.
Someone asked, how do you make fake food? It's all on YouTube.
It
It's all on
seriously is.
YouTube.
And painting is an amazing thing. Get a fake orange, paint it a little ways, put it on. It'll look old. You don't need a fake orange. You don't need to find the right orange. You just paint it old. Paint it
There you go.
bruised. There's a million stuff you can do with some paint.
That's
it's
amazing.
unbelievable.
Well, David, thank you so much. Thank
Hey,
you for
thanks for
sharing.
having me.
Thanks for sharing, and everybody, thank you for tuning in.
Thanks, everybody.
And we will see you, of course, on Saturday night on Instagram on ThNOT, and then we will see you again next week for another guest here on ThNOT. Thursday night on tour, but thanks again for tuning in. And David, thanks. Have a great show.
Thanks, Nick. Thanks for having me. Thanks,
Bye, everybody.
Thanks for watching us.